Hi there, this is Swordsman from Swordsman Films, and welcome to another Backlog cleared video. Today's backlog that I have cleared is my NovaMedia collection. Again, another Korean label who specialise in nice editions of both Asian cinema and mainstream cinema. Again, I don't have a lot of them just because they do a lot of kind of mainstream films that I'm not really bothered about, but obviously I would in the future quite like to get my hands on some more Asian films. You can order direct from NovaMedia, but obviously with the current climate it'll probably take a wee while. I've ordered some of them from NovaMedia, some of them I've got on eBay for relatively cheaply, some not so cheap. So I'm just going to go through them alphabetically. Not going to go into too much detail about the films, but I may point a few out. They have a kind of range of Fortune Star ones, which is obviously the Hong Kong label, and the first one is The Armour of God, double the Jackie Chan fun Indiana Jones riffs. The first one is a lot of fun. The second one is kind of fun as well. Again, if you're looking for the answers to the universe, Jackie Chan films are probably not where you're going to find them. But these are wonderful, fun films. The Armour of God is obviously the one where he almost killed himself, and you get to see, with his earlier films, they always run this kind of stunts going wrong in the end credits, and this is the one where he did a jump from a tree, almost killed himself, and put a hole in his head where you can see his brain. I mean, how Jackie Chan is actually still alive is fairly miraculous. I would say about NovaMedia, sometimes the English subtitles are a little bit off as far as some of the words, but that's a minor gripe to get some of these on nice Blu-rays. This edition's all region. Some of them are region A, some of them are all region. Next is the Better Tomorrow trilogy, which is A Better Tomorrow, A Better Tomorrow 2 and A Better Tomorrow 3, strangely enough, starring the wonderful Chow Yun-fat. Again, some nice artwork in the inside. And this is all region as well. So you get the 3 on separate discs. A Better Tomorrow. I mean, for me, the best John Woo is The Killer in Hard Boiled, and probably A Better Tomorrow 2, which is just kind of a more focused, bigger and brasher version of the first film. I mean, both of them are perhaps a little over long, but the second one does have an amazing finale, and it does do the trick of a certain character's cousin coming back for part 2. And there's A Better Tomorrow 3, which is kind of set in Vietnam, which again is a lot less focused than number 2, but I am very pleased to have the trilogy, because you can always have some more John Woo. Next is A Bittersweet Life, Kim Ji-woon's masterful riff on the gangster film, which again is nothing special as far as the story, but it's just executed so well. It just has a wonderful fatalism to it, which is something that I'm really drawn to, and this one is Region A. Next takes me back to my youth. It's the Chinese Ghost Story trilogy. Again, these are films that I saw late night Channel 4, I believe, one Christmas. Certainly the first two, and are just so much fun. Again, this edition's all region as well. So strangely enough, you have Chinese Ghost Story 1, 2, 3, which are so much fun. Tony Leung is in the third one, which is probably the weakest, and there's 1 and 2. Lots of fun. Perhaps not great films, but takes you back to a simpler time when the world was simpler and there's lots of ghosts about. Next is Ringo Lamb's City on Fire, which is a fairly influential film without being perhaps a great film. This one's all region as well, and some of them are numbered. So this is like 204 out of 777. Again, I wouldn't say it's a great film, but it has moments. I guess it's another Chow Yun-fat film. What more can you ask for? Oh, that looks a bit like Reservoir Dogs. It's good that it gets a nice clean up. I mean, I had it recorded off the television, I think, on a bad DVD as well, so it's nice to have a good print of it. So that's City on Fire. Next is one of my favourite editions that I have in my collection. It's Dread, but it's just an amazing lenticular. Don't know whether you can see that, but it's just a lovely lenticular. It's a steelbook. This is the Carl Urban Dread, not the Stallone Dread, for obvious reasons. This is a little gem. I know we kind of want a sequel, but in some ways we don't want a sequel, because this is just what Judge Dredd was, and it was just done so well. Yeah, it's a fairly standard steelbook under the lenticular. I mean, this is just a perfect example. And this one's got the 3D and the 2D. Again, you get art cards. I think this one's a Region A. It's just an example of doing something that's actually true to what the source material is, and not completely changing it just to make it into a movie experience. It's a wonderful little film. That's Dread. Next, again, is a film that's been in my life for a lot of years. It's God of Gamblers, again with Chow Yun-fat, because life is a gamble. Again, I had this on a really bad print on VHS. This one's all region as well. So it is really good to get it on a proper Blu-ray. This is the moving story of a god of gamblers who loses his memory and falls in with a couple of losers as he tries to get his memory back. Again, it's just good, enjoyable Chow Yun-fat fun. There are sequels which I haven't seen. You can let me know in the comments what you think of the sequels. Next is Handsome Siblings. Again with Andy Lau, Bridget Lynn. This one's all region as well. And again, this one I wouldn't say is a great film, but just a lot of fun. And sometimes you just need films that are a lot of fun. There's nothing wrong with films that are a lot of fun. Next is a very strange film from Korea in 2000, proving that Koreans were making strange, weird films 20 years ago. It's not just recently. This is The Isle, about a woman who works in a little it's almost like a little hut on a boat for fishing, but various nefarious things go on. This one is all region as well. If you're squeamish, it's probably not a good film for you. There is things going on with fishing hooks. There's a wee booklet as well. Fishing hooks are put in places where fishing hooks shouldn't go. You can see what I mean. There's just little, almost fishing houses, and she goes in a little boat between them. We see all the different characters that rent the little houses. It's a strange, interesting little film. Not to everybody's taste, I wouldn't have thought, but it's well worth a look. Next is JSA, or Joint Security Area, by Chan Park. This is Region A, but of course this recently got an Arrow video release, so I'm hoping a Bittersweet Life might as well, even though I have a Bittersweet Life and now 2 releases. It stars 2 Korean icons, Sang-ho and Byung-lee. Oh. And it's an excellent film. It's one of those films that blew me away the first time I saw it. It's absolutely fantastic. Set on the North Korean, South Korean border. There's an incident that's investigated, and we slowly find out the truth of what actually happened. Wonderful film. As is the next one, it's John Woo's The Killer. With Chow Yun-fat, as always. This one is all region as well. The best Hong Kong film ever by Hot Dog Magazine. Make of that what you will. Again, I think Hard Boiled was the first Woo that I saw, which I actually saw in the cinema, then went back to see The Killer. Hard Boiled literally blew me away, and The Killer is even better. Next is Miss Bake. Again, it's another lenticular, and this is all region as well. This is a gritty, grim film, I think from 2018. I could actually be wrong on the date. It's fairly recent. About a woman who has had an abusive life, been in prison, and she befriends a young girl who has also had an abusive life from this pair. Physical abuse, beaten, I don't believe sexual abuse, but physical abuse, and she kind of forms a kind of relationship with her. It's shot very kind of grittily and realistic. There's not a lot of flash to it. Again, it's not for everybody because it is downbeat, to say the least. It's grim. It doesn't sugarcoat anything, but there's moments in it that are actually quite moving. As these damaged people try and kind of find each other. It's one of those films that you probably wouldn't watch that often, but it's an excellent film. There's also a relationship between the lead character and the cop that kind of has a soft spot for her and tries to help her out as much as he can, when everybody else is pretty much saying she's worthless and not worth the trouble. Yeah, it's one I'm going to have to watch again, but it's an excellent little film. Next, again, this takes me back. This film's probably been in my life for about 30 years as well. It's Mr. Vampire, which recently also got a Eureka release in the UK, but this NovaMedia is all region, so that's why I didn't double up. I don't double up all the time, unlike Sir Mix-a-Lot. Again, this has 2 sequels, I believe, which I've never seen, but Mr. Vampire is, again, I've had this in my life for so long. Again, the first time I saw it, it's just so hilarious with jumping vampires. It's just simple. It shouldn't be funny, but it is just funny. It's an absolute joy. I always associate it for some reason with Christmas, because I think that must have been the way I saw it, because again, I'm sure Channel 4 one Christmas had a Hong Kong action comedy ghost story season, and Mr. Vampire always puts a smile on my face. How could it not? Next is Nightcrawler, Dan Gilroy, which again has a lovely lenticular, with Jake Gyllenhaal giving another immersive performance. Again, underneath, I think that's the standard steelbook that's been around underneath the lenticular. Again, Gyllenhaal just gets more and more skeletal as the film goes on, as a man obsessed with following carnage and filming it and selling it to the news station run by Rene Russo. This is a Region A release, and there's wonderful support by Riz Ahmed and Bill Paxton as a competing chaser, essentially. But it does strike you whenever you mention Bill Paxton that he's not actually here anymore, and that sucks, to be honest. Bill Paxton is severely missed. Next, it's another John Woo. It's another early John Woo, Once a Thief, Chow Yun-fat again. Again, this one is all region as well. Again, it's kind of loose, overlong. Could have did with being a little bit tighter. But again, there's a lot to like in it. It's just wonderful stuff. Leslie Chung. Somebody else who died way too young. Next is the Project A Part 1 and 2. Another Jackie Chan double bill. Again, a couple more Jackie Chan fun-filled affairs. Explorers of the meaning of life need not apply. If you want good fun time. Project A, Part 1 and 2. Next, Kim Ji-woon's The Quiet Family, with early appearances by Choi Min-sik. Again, this is the quote-unquote straight version of Takashi Miike would later remake it as The Happiness of the Katakuri's, which is a completely Takashi Miike musical dance extravaganza, whereas this one is just the black comedy of a family who opens a hotel or a bed and breakfast, but it doesn't quite work out as guests keep dying and they keep having to bury them. And again, I did a double take video on The Happiness of the Katakuri's and The Quiet Family, their similarities and their differences. They're both wonderful films. And this is a wonderful release by NovaMedia. This is a Region A. Because I first kind of saw parts of this on an abysmal DVD. Excuse me. An abysmal DVD that I could hardly see what was going on. So getting it on a Blu-ray is an absolute gift. Again, hopefully this will get a bit more exposure and perhaps a Region B release. Next is a film that I normally probably wouldn't have bought, but it's NovaMedia. This is Sue Mai and Sawa writing The Girlship. And this is just a lovely little film about three women, their friendship. Again, a nice little poster. What happens in their lives, the expectations that are put on them by society. It kind of has, I wouldn't say it has a kind of Amelie feel, but it has that kind of slight kookiness and quirkiness, but without being overly so. It's still kind of more based in reality. Again, you get a wee book and wee cards. Again, it's a good film, it's a lovely little film, but again, it's not one that I would have bought on its own if it wasn't a NovaMedia release. But again, I think I got this one relatively cheap off eBay, and again, it's a really enjoyable little Japanese film. Next, in typical Solitary Ronin style, this is The Swordsman Part 2 and 3, and I haven't actually seen Part 1. Part 1 is available in NovaMedia, so I might have to pick up. This is all region as well. These are strange films. Again, it's lots of kung fu craziness. They're actually quite bloody for these films and when they were made. This is Swordsman Part 2 and Swordsman 3, The East is Red. The plots are fairly impenetrable, but again, they are enjoyable if completely barking. Again, like I said, this is all region, and I might actually have to pick up Swordsman Part 1. Next is the Teabeck Mountains, which is a really interesting film. This one's all region as well. This is pretty much a historical piece about North and South Korea, how that kind of came about after the Second World War. It's a really good film, but it's quite dry, because there's lots of, it kind of goes in chronological order, and there's lots of titles of 1946, October 1949, January 1950. It's about ideologies, the clash of communism, capitalism, the effects on people of choosing sides. It's brutal. It doesn't shy away from people killing each other just because they believe in something different. Again, I think I've rated it a 4 out of 5. But again, it's not a film that I would revisit that often. But again, it's a very good film. But I think it is a little dry. You don't really get to know the characters that much. They're always kind of at a distance from you, I feel. But it's fascinating as far as a history lesson. But I think the way they chose to do it, I feel kind of distanced myself from the actual characters and the people. It's more just, here's a list of events and this is kind of what happened, rather than focusing in on characters. There's kind of a main character you kind of follow throughout the thing, but I just feel it could perhaps been a little bit more engaging. But it's still a very good film, and I would recommend you check it out if you want a history on Korea. Next is Kim Ji-woon's Tale of Two Sisters, which again is another one of his creepy earlier films. It's not my favourite Kim Ji-woon, but still lovely, looks lovely, beautifully acted. And this one is all region as well. And finally, King Hu's Touch of Zen with a lovely lenticular. Again, I'm one of those weirdos that isn't as high on King Hu films as other people. I mean, it's still, for me, a 4-star film out of 5. But I do find these films a little overlong, but that's just me. But there's still a lot to like. And it is a rather lovely addition in the film. And this one is a Region A locked release. Again, it's a lovely lenticular. So that is it, I'm afraid. That is my backlog finally cleared of NovaMedia releases until I get some more. But I don't have any coming anytime soon. Please let me know what your favourite NovaMedia release is, even if I don't actually have it. Which releases would you recommend? Which one's your favourite film out of the pile that I've finally closed off my backlog? I'd be interested to hear in the comments below. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully there'll be more backlog cleared videos in the future. They better be. And hopefully you'll join me again for more videos. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.